Hello everyone, good to see you. I made a previous video where I talked about the XH2 and kind of what I thought of it. I was disappointed with the autofocus mostly. I have since done a lot more tests because people were telling me I was crazy, that I was incompetent, that I didn't know how to use Fuji cameras, all the above things on some forums and stuff like that. So I bought another XH2 body and I tested that out, and then I waited until I got the XT5 and I've tested this out. I've tested it with now 3 bodies and I know what I'm doing. And the XH2 and the XT5 do not do a very good job on continuous autofocus with wide tracking and faces and eyes. It just doesn't do a good job, at least in certain situations. Let me show you real quick. These photos are zoomed in a little bit. I just cropped in close so you could see that the camera is not focusing very much at all in some instances. So the background's a little bit kind of crazy. The camera is in boost mode and my shutter speed's at 1250, ISO I think 640. And everything should be okay for this kind of shot. My sun is not going very fast. And you can see that the camera is focusing on different things. Like, I don't know where it's focusing right there. It's on the leaves. We keep going. It's focusing on him. Yay, yay. And then focusing on the leaves. And not focused at all. Now it's focused on him again. And now it's blurry again. Completely blurry. It's totally lost him. Now he's looking down. And he jumps down, the camera loses focus completely, and you could kind of say, all right, well, maybe that's cool. However, I'm coming from a world where I have a Sony a7 IV, and it nails every single shot, no matter where he's looking. And when he jumps down, you could see the camera continue to focus all the way through. I'm moving my camera, he's moving. It's doing an amazing job of tracking. And again, we ran the a7 IV test multiple times. Every shot is absolutely perfectly in focus. All right, so maybe I shouldn't expect that level of performance from the Fujifilm XT5 and the XH2, but I think that I should expect better than what I'm getting right here. And this is another example with the 90mm. And with the 90mm, you can see it starts off missing focus, which is okay. You're like, hey, the camera's got to find the person. And then it kind of finds them, and then it loses them again. And it kind of finds them and loses them again, loses them completely. It's just very weird. Again, my shutter speed's at 1250. I know what I'm doing, guys. The a7 IV shots that you saw were with the 85mm 1.4, and I should be able to get better results than this. Blurry, blur, that one's kind of in focus, but then blurry again. And then blurry. In focus, in focus, in focus. Good job, good job. And then out of focus. And then we'll lose our minds down there. And here's with the 50 to 140. And my sun is not really moving at this point. I'm just shooting with the 50 to 140, walking around him a little bit, looking at the eye focus. And it does a pretty decent job at first. And then for no reason, loses his eyes completely. It looks like on the back of his head, his hair there. That's, again, maybe on the back of his head somewhere. There's a little bit of his hair in focus. And it's losing focus again. Now it's back to his eye. That's a little blurry. That's perfect. Pretty good. And then back to the ear. That's pretty good. Back to the ear. Back to the face, that eye. Blurry. 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 Good. Blurry. Blurry. Decent, that eye, great. That's what I want every shot, right here. I want that, and I should get it on a person that's not moving. I'm sorry, I just should. Oh, beautiful, good, good, good. And then for no reason, blurry again, good, and then blurry. All right, you can see my frustrations. I'm getting to the point where I know that I can't use the XT5 and the XH2 in continuous autofocus, expect even close to results what I'm getting with the Canon Rs and especially the Sony. You know, I want to live in a world where I could take my Fuji camera and I could point it at something that's moving and I could be confident that it's going to focus. Fuji's own literature, their video where they showed the XT5 talked about even when subjects are moving, the continuous eye focus should work pretty well.
And in this case, the subject is pretty static, but if we have a moving subject with a continuous autofocus, the camera just tracks that subject all the time and gives me peace of mind to keep shooting.
When we go and look at something like the a7 IV, I can look at, this was at a portrait shoot, and I'm actually shooting the mom and the dad over to the right. And the girl jumps, she gets a blanket and starts running towards me. I can point my camera at her on continuous autofocus, and it just gets her every single time. Every shot is perfect. Again, maybe we can't expect that with Fuji, but I'm expecting better than what I'm getting. So I took the XT5 out, and I thought maybe we'd get better results with the XT5, some magical tweak maybe before they released it. And no, I'm getting the same kind of deal. So blurry, and then in focus for a couple shots, and then blurry for no reason. Blurry for no reason. Blurry. This is eye tracking. And a couple good shots. Good. Okay, bad. Terrible. Focus somewhere back there. It looks like the brick wall back there. Terrible. Terrible. In focus. In focus. In focus. Blurry. Blur, blur. I don't know what's happening. Blur, focus. And then he jumps down with medium amounts of success. A couple of these look pretty decent, right? Then blurry, 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 kind of in focus, blurry, kind of in focus, totally blurry, in focus, in focus, in focus, totally blurry. Okay, I'm almost out of breath because I'm getting frustrated just looking at these again. Here's another one, 33 millimeter. This is the newest, one of the newer Fuji lenses. The 33 millimeter has a linear motor. It's supposed to be one of the faster focusers, and it looks better until here, where it just focuses on the tree for no reason. Focusing on the background, blurry, 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 focused, focused. And again, my shutter speed is at 1250. My camera is on boost mode. I have continuous autofocus on. If you're going to tell me that I need to change and tweak my autofocus settings, number one, that's not true. I should be able to put it on eye tracking, face tracking at least, continuous autofocus, and wide tracking, and it should be able to track a subject. It should see it. And the most frustrating thing about all this is that when I am actually looking at it on the camera, it looks like every shot's in focus. I did probably 6 or 7 professional, like paid portrait sessions with the XH2 because the camera on the back looked perfect. So within the 2 or 3 day period, I did a bunch of portrait sessions, and I was like, holy cow, the XH2 is amazing. Look at this video. It's locking focus for every single shot. But in reality, these shots are just not always in focus. So the sequence that I just showed you with the video kind of looks like it's doing a good job, right? Looks like it's in focus. On the back of the camera, it looks like it's in focus. And then it will just completely lose its mind. It's out of focus, in focus, out of focus, out of focus. I don't know what's going on, people. You know, this is the same sequence I showed you in that video. Blurry, blurry, blurry. Kind of in focus, blurry, 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 kind of in focus, good, right? And then we get a sequence of decent ones. And before it loses its mind later on again. Okay? This has been over and over again. I'm testing this. I am absolutely confident that these cameras do not do a good job in these types of situations. Now, maybe you might switch to zone focusing. You might do some other things that you want to do. That's great. But as advertised, when it says that it could do continuous wide tracking face and eye focus, it just does not do a very good job at all. I don't think it does much better than the XT4 when you're looking at results that are like this. There are a couple things to consider here. Number one is that I think that this is a whole new autofocus system, so Fuji might get better. They might know that this thing is a pretty hot seller, and it looks like it is, and that they need to fix autofocus. But if you know Fuji's track record with some of the stuff, yeah, they've improved, but I'm not sure if they're going to improve this very much. I mean, yeah, let's hope so. It's a new system, so they might be able to do it, but who knows? Another thing is, people keep telling me that they're seeing other people have great luck with the autofocus and that they're not being reported in other places. It got me to the point where I thought I was crazy. That's why I bought another XH2 body, and I continue to get the XT5. And I think what you're seeing there is people looking at the back of the camera or looking through the viewfinder and seeing it track the person's eye in almost every shot. Even when I have people spinning around and doing different things, I did lots and lots, hundreds of tests with my wife, and she won't let me share them because she says she looks funny. But the same kind of thing with her, where it would lock focus, and there might be even a sequence of like 20 shots, maybe 25, that look great, and they're great. And then the next 5 or 6 are terrible. And then it goes back to inconsistent and good and bad. I just don't trust these autofocus systems. And so when I'm seeing other people have success, I think that's a product of them looking at the back of the viewfinder, and also the product cycle where YouTube reviewers and other reviewers get cameras. they do quick reviews and then they post the reviews because they need to get them out really quickly. I'm not trying to say that they're wrong or that they're lying to you or anything like that. I'm just saying that's kind of the nature of the beast. I also kind of wonder, and I'm not accusing anyone of this, but I mean, there is a little bit of this when you see affiliate links in different places and they want you to buy a camera and this is a pretty good seller. Does it make sense for them to post all the negatives? And that's being really, really critical. And maybe I'm being paranoid, but I can't imagine that that's not taking place sometimes. You know, because I could, for instance, pull out sequences, like I just said, within all of these shots and say, look at how great the camera's doing, and show those correct sequences when it actually looks pretty good. But showing the entire sequence, showing everything at once, reveals that this thing is just not ready for prime time. It's not ready for this types of focus. Now, other types of focus, this camera does a lot better job. I can use, for instance, the continuous autofocus, and I can use wide tracking where I select like a subject to lock onto. And it seems to do a good job of locking onto like a leaf or a branch or a person standing there. It does a better job than ever. But I think that I want better results from Fuji to be able to use the eye and focus tracking like I would the A7 IV. Maybe I'm just spoiled. Maybe I'm spoiled by using the Canon R5 and the Canon R7 and the R6 and the Sony A7 IV and the Sony A1 and a bunch of the Sonys, and just kind of expecting that they're going to take care of my eye focus for me. But I think that I should expect that in 2023. I just really do. And I think that Fuji needs to either figure out their autofocus or they need to revamp it completely, because it is unacceptable for me to think about this camera as a portrait and wedding photographer where I'm shooting stuff that's not just somebody standing there or an environment that I can completely control. I need a more reliable camera like the Sonys, like the Canons, that's going to let me focus on composition and exposure and dealing with the client and kind of engaging in a way that I didn't know really existed until I started using the new Canons and Sonys. It really frees you up. It takes a lot of load off your shoulders. I know a professional sports photographer, for instance, that was trying to use Fuji for many years, and he's world class. He was getting really, really good results. But even he has told me that his switch to Sony was like taking a giant elephant off his back. He did not have to work as hard anymore, and it made things better. He was able to focus on composing his photos more professionally. And I think Fuji just needs to get there. They need to give us the confidence that they're going to be able to take care of some of these autofocus situations. If you are having a great time with your autofocus, that is awesome. But I just want to warn, in some situations, at the very least, in these test situations, and actually when I'm taking people out to parks and stuff for portraits, you're going to get maybe some more blurry shots than you want, or you're going to have to work a little bit harder, kind of like we used to with Fuji, even though they promised that this was going to be taken care of. So please don't kill me. I'm trying to do this for you and trying to do this for other people that maybe could just be like a little bit of an alarm bell. Okay, so if you have questions, let me know. Throw them below. Subscribe. Do all that stuff. We'll see you later.